Okay, so we are ready to take apart the visor. So you can see that I did paint this and been looking at it. I'm going to have to redo the paint and everything on here, but that's totally fine. I'm not worried about that. That's the easy part. But you will see that I did take off initially this mirror, right? Just trying to figure out a way to get all this off, and so I took it off. It's just sticky tape, so I just heated it up and pulled it off. But actually, I don't need to do that. So, but not an issue. We will continue. And so what I'm going to do, and I've done my other visor already, so that's why I want to show everybody what I'm doing here, and how this is going to be done. And so I need to pull this fabric off because I need to be able to tuck into, this area here, which is which are the grabber, and then inside here, I need to tuck in all in this seam here. So I have my little cutter here, and the other one that I took apart already, I know what's under here already. So I wanted to do this in the video to show you specifically what to do, because we have to rewrap this. And rewrapping over this is merely impossible, because you do need to tuck in so you don't have seams sticking out. And you need to be able to tuck in here, and you need to be able to tuck in over here. So what I did was I just used one of these, and I just cut all along this seam. So this is all just glued, and so you just slice it open, and we'll just do that. Okay, carefully, don't cut yourself. Okay, and you can see that once you start cutting, it just kind of comes apart pretty easy. So we just keep going, because we're basically just getting that glue. Okay, and we'll come here and cut that. So you be careful. It's okay if I cut it, but I'm just gonna keep going. You can see it's just opening. You can see it's already opening, so that's good. And all we're doing is just cutting this. And what's behind this is a single piece of black plastic, and there's two pieces of foam. There's one here and there's one here. So let's keep going. And all I'm looking to do at this point is really just separate these so that I can start to take off all the fabric. That's my goal at this point, to be able to do that. And literally peeling off the fabric. So as we start to open this, you'll see the black pieces of foam here. And really, it doesn't matter where you start. I'm just going to try and pull off a little bit here and start to peel off this fabric. And again, I don't know if I'll video all this, but it's just, doesn't matter. If you're wanting to do, this is the way that, again, that I'm doing it, just based on how this visor is put together. Okay, my microphone cut out on me, so I'm just going to do a voice overlay. You can see here that I have now finished pulling off the entire fabric from the visor, and you can see I kept it intact, and you're going to want to do that because you're going to want to use it as your template. And now what I'm explaining here is that we now need to pull out the mirror. And then what I'm explaining, there are 4 pins behind here that kind of click in to hold this mirror piece in place. And so what I'm going to show you here on the back is that we need to now carefully cut out a big square, and we need to cut a square in order to pop those 4 pins out from the back using a flathead screwdriver or another item that you may want to use. So that's kind of what I'm showing here and explaining to make sure that you understand that we have to cut this foam. And once we're done, we're just going to put the foam back together, and I'm just going to use duct tape later on to put it back together and just cut it nice and neat. We don't want to, tear it up. We just want to cut it using the knife there and just make a big square so that we can pull it off and get to those 4 pins. Okay, so you can see here that I'm just cutting the square around the back of the visor, and large enough that I'm not cutting into the electronics of the front mirror. And you'll see here, once you cut it, it'll just start to come up. This part is not glued down from the back. It's just loose back here, this middle part. So you see I'm just finishing, trying to get it all the way cut through, and then this piece of foam just pops off. I'm gonna let it keep going here. Just trying to cut it all the way through there. And there it goes, it just comes right off, and you see the red wires, you see the electronics back there. So, and there it is. And then we cut it, again, we cut it square, we cut it with, clean corners and clean edges. So we're just gonna lay it back down like that when we're ready. It'll just fit right back in there like a puzzle, and we just duct tape it to hold it back on. But now we have access to the back of the pin so that we can pop it out. Okay, here quickly I'm going to show you a close-up of those pins, right? There's 4 of them, and you can see they're just popping out the back there on the corners. There's a good close-up of those 2 there. And I've already pushed 1 down. It looks like I'm starting to work on them to push them down. You can see the electronics back there. Again, when you're cutting, so that you know where the electronics are so you don't cut those. Okay, and one last piece of information here before I conclude this video is that you'll see I'm using a flathead again, and you'll want to look at those pins and how they're snapped in. Because I noticed that you kind of had to, you'll see what I'm doing there, you have to kind of push forward and then push down because of the way that they're held in. So just look at them closely. You can figure it out when you're looking at them, but just pay attention to how they're put in so you don't break them, because of course when you're done, you're going to want to snap them back in when you're putting everything back together. Okay, so just be careful because it is plastic and you're working with a metal screwdriver. So just be patient. And it is tedious, yes, I get it, but you can do it, and just look at how closely how they are put together. So I hope it works out great for you, and this is the final step of the demo part of this, and then we can get to wrapping these things and making them look beautiful. Okay, so we're just about ready to pop this thing out, but you'll see here what I'm showing is the flap, and the flap is held on by these 3 little I don't know if I'd call them pins, but where the cloth is kind of glued to these 3 little pins. And you can see here, I'm starting to kind of tear away or, pull apart the flap that is stuck with glue. So be careful on this part as well. Do not just yank it. You will tear that whole electronic component up. So just be careful. It's just glued little by little. And again, we are going to be wrapping these flaps as well. So don't tear them, don't rip them up, because we need to put them back together once we're done.